Hello everyone, welcome back to pixelprojectradio, the video game discussions and analysis podcast. My name is Rick. Hello everyone. And today we are talking all about Skullgirls, the hit indie fighting game that took the community by storm a few different times for a few different reasons. Before we begin, I have to thank all of the patrons. They're all of my little Skullgirls, and if you want to join my cabal of little Skullgirls, I'm sure that's not very enticing. If you want to join the patrons, if you want to show your support that way and be extra generous, you can check it out at patreon.com/pixelprojectradio. See what we've got on offer there, free and otherwise. You can check it all out there. And we can talk all about that toward the end. My co-host today, coming out of retirement once again, former energy drink podcaster, if you can believe that, and fighting game podcaster and aficionado, Mikey Tabletop, is back on the mic. Hey, Mikey, how's it going?
I'm doing very well, thank you. Thank you for bringing me out of retirement. I unironically believe it has been 1 year since I've last done a podcast, so it's nice to come back on the mic sometimes.
God damn, a whole year already.
Yeah, I think the last episode I did was the April Fool's joke for the fighting game podcast, and I recorded that in either February or March before April Fool, so just about a year since I've been on the mic.
You are the fighting game man, so it's great to have you back on the mic. You've got plenty of tournament experience and play experience, and experience with today's game, Skullgirls, which I'm very excited to talk about. Before we do, if you're a new listener to the show, welcome. We're glad that you're here. This show is generally an analysis show where we go through narratives and talk about them beat by beat, talk about what works, what doesn't, how it might be connected to real-world events, religions, philosophies, literature, things like that, as well as talking about mechanics and art styles and such. This month, we are doing all fighting games. Fighting Game February, we're calling it. Fight Brewery, whichever you'd prefer. And this is the last episode, the final episode on Skullgirls, which I'm not even going to bury the lead on this, which I think this is the third or fourth episode I've said that. I love this game. I love this game so much. This is one of the first fighting games in a long time that I've had the urge to actually sit down and learn, and it's going to be an absolute blast. So with that, Mikey, tell me a little bit about how you came into Skullgirls. When was your first time hearing about it? When was your first time playing it?
First time hearing about it was probably years ago. I want to say 2013. EVO, the big fighting game tournament, had a fundraiser where there was like one slot open, and it was whoever got to raise the most money, I think for either cancer or breast cancer specifically.
Yes.
That community got the last slot at EVO, and the two biggest earners were Skullgirls and Super Smash Bros. Melee.
And that is largely what brought Smash Melee back, if I'm remembering correctly, right?
Yes. Yeah, bringing, because, okay, I know this isn't a Melee podcast, but Melee was popular. Brawl came out, it kind of like didn't get as popular. It got brought back onto literally the largest fighting game tournament in the world. So it's because of that tournament that we had like a revival and people started going again, and we were on the big stage, which was fun. But we went back and forth with the Skullgirls community. So we kind of have a mutual respect with them. I know there's a lot of like, I don't want to say there's a lot of beef between like the Smash communities and other fighting games, but some people don't like the Smash community for various reasons, some of them more warranted than others. But Skullgirls was like, yeah, you know what? We had a good fight. We raised a whole bunch of money for charity. There's nothing bad about that. So that was my first exposure to them. My first time playing the game was when you asked me to do Skullgirls.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I bought it on sale. I don't know. I want to say like $10, $4. I got it like dirt cheap months ago, and I just never got around to it. And then you were like, you want to do Skullgirls? I was like, hells yeah, perfect opportunity for me to finally dive into it.
That's awesome, man. I was reading about that charity drive. I mean, imagine what it would have been had Skullgirls beaten it out.
Yeah.
What a different world we would have lived in, where I wouldn't have to hear HBox screaming and blowing out his mic every other TikTok or Instagram reel. Just kidding. I like that community for the most part. Skullgirls for me, pretty similar history for me. This was my first time actually giving it a try and playing it. It's been in my library for a while. I was really turned off and steered away by the art for a very long time. I kept associating it with some of the crews that I knew in junior high, the Invader Zim, fingerless gloves that go up to your elbows kind of crowd. So I was like, maybe not, but spent time with it this time. As I said, fantastic. Probably, I don't like to rank things like this, but probably maybe it's definitely in my top 5, maybe top 3. Hard to say.
I don't think it's in my top 3. I think I have a pretty solid top 3, but I'm pretty sure this is like top 5 for me. I had a lot of fun doing this, and I will probably go back and just play the game for fun after the podcast, which I don't do with a lot of like podcast games. When we record, it's done, the homework is finished, but I feel like I'm gonna go back and like play this one and just enjoy my time with it after the show as well.
For folks listening who might not be aware, Skullgirls began as an indie game. It is an indie game, fighting game, hand-drawn. And we'll come back to that in a bit. Hand-drawn. Everything is hand-drawn. It's pretty spectacular. Uses a mixture of aesthetics that I would say are from like comic books. Your maybe like 5% of an edgy comic book. Think like Johnny the Homicidal Maniac or those emo standbys. Mixture of that, 20s and 40s era animation, like Disney, early Disney, Cuphead, stuff like that. Sort of transatlantic accents and the golden era of movies, noir movies especially. Took a lot of inspiration from Marvel vs. Capcom 2, so it is going to be a tag fighter. More on that in a little bit, though. And very combo-focused, very fast game. Well, maybe not as fast as a lot of anime fighters, actually, now that I'm thinking about it. It's not quite as fast as Uni, but it's definitely faster than your Street Fighters. Well, we might as well kick this off with talking about our mains in this game, get that conversation out of the way. Who did you like playing as?
Okay, so I know we're going to talk about this a little bit later on, but at the top, I think it's important to let the audience, the listeners know that you can have a few mains in this. You can have a team of 1, 2, or 3 because it's like a tag team fighter. And I vibed with 2 mains in particular, but I like playing a team of 3 in general. I would always pick Painwheel and Valentine, and then I would just do random for the third one just to experience the rest of the cast.
Random is always a fantastic choice in fighting games. I love doing that.
Yeah.
I could not get along with Painwheel very well, to be honest with you. I was a big Cerebella and Squiggly were my 2. And we're going to talk all about what these characters do, I think, once we get into the characters talking about them. I also really liked playing as Double.
Okay.
Double is a very beginner-friendly character as well. I cannot stand the way that they are designed, but very cool move kit. Community forum. This is an all-time low for this month. I even started putting it out onto the Blue Sky, which I'm not going to complain about Blue Sky right now. No responses, of course. Skullgirls is not... I wouldn't even call Skullgirls popular in the FGC, at least not anymore. However, Discord regular Poppy the Keaton did say they saw Sonic Fox at a con one time. Sonic Fox was, at one time, they were like the Skullgirls player. They're also, or they were anyway, like top in Smash for a while too, Smash Ultimate. They were killing it. They're kind of like Mango. Not Mango, Leffen. They're just good at everything they do, and they're not an asshole like Leffen, so yeah. I like them a little more.
Yeah, they're also, I believe, the best Mortal Kombat player. I was gonna say, I think everybody's on to Mortal Kombat 1 now, but the Mortal Kombat, I think it was 11 before they did the reboot. They have like a shit ton of Evo records from that. Just like if you look at Sonic Fox's like results page, it's like 16 different games. It's truly bonkers.
People like that are very inspiring. Truly, very truly inspiring. I know as a saxophonist, I was somebody that, I specialized in classical, but I could hold my own in jazz. And let me tell you, being competent, let alone masterful at both, very few people achieve that. And it's not too dissimilar with fighting games or any sports, I'd imagine. Like you see those folks running Ironman marathons. Yeah. They got to be fantastic at running, swimming, and biking. That's crazy stuff.
Yeah, wildly impressive. Not something I can do.
And speaking of extreme physical challenges, we're playing a fighting game behind computer screens, and that's pretty much the same as an Iron Man, I'd say. And since I said pretty much the same as an Iron Man, that takes us to the development. This game was originally released in 2012 for the PS3 and 360, digital only, was later re-released as Skullgirls Encore after being taken down, and then re-released as Skullgirls Second Encore in 2015. And it's now available pretty much anywhere you'd like to play it, including on mobile, although it's a different game. More on that in a little bit too. This was developed by Reverge Labs and published by Autumn Games. Konami was involved at one time as well. Messy situation here. Designer and programmer Mike Zymont, he was involved from 2012 to 2019. Also designed by Peter Bartholomew. By Peter Bartholow. Art by Alex Ahad, Mario Kinuko Cartwright, Jonathan Kim, and Brian June. Composers, you're gonna get a kick out of this. Michiru Yamane from Castlevania and I think a little Street Fighter 2 fame.
Ooh.
Insane. Insane. I had no idea. Crazy. They got top billing for her. Vincent Diamante was the audio director and another composer. And also Brenton Kosak and Blaine McGurty were assisting with this as well. They're all listed as credited composers. And believe me, we'll talk all about the music too. Production began between Zymont and Ahad as far back as 2008 when they met each other at a tournament. They were both looking to make a fighting game. Ahad was designing some characters since high school. Zymont was real eager to program stuff, and they got together, and the rest is history.
Do you by any chance know what game they were competing at the tournament? I just think that would be like a fun influence if we knew oh yeah, they met at a Street Fighter or a Tekken tournament.
I do not. I did not see anything about that. It might be out there. I didn't see any of that. It did release in a previous state and was not well received at all. You can see early footage of this. Did you see any of that?
No, I haven't. I pretty much only my understanding of the game has come on when it's been a little bit more polished and it was popular. People were playing it and it was on the big stages. So I haven't seen the really early stuff. a
looked closer to a Newgrounds Flash animation.
I can definitely see that. I think that goes really well with the Invader Zim vibe you were saying. I refer to it as the Hot Topic vibe. I feel like Hot Topic and Newgrounds went hand in hand back in the day, so that makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, and I don't, we can lovingly rag on them, but I kind of miss those days. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
Every time I see on Reddit or something, millennial, old school millennial fashion, 2009, 2010, the swoopy bangs, the skinny jeans, the big scene hair. I miss it, man.
Oh yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I spent many a day in Hot Topic. No bashing it here. It's just it very. I think that's a very good descriptor for the aesthetic that they were going for.
Yeah, no, you are totally right. You were totally right. And that makes sense if Alex Ahad was designing some of this stuff when he was in high school. I don't think he's that much older than us. Before we talk about the visuals, though, let's talk a little bit more about this development. It gets kind of interesting here. They ended up forming a team eventually, Reverge Labs. They got picked up by Autumn Games as the publisher. As you said, they did that charity drive, raised a lot of money that kind of put them on the map. They had a whole Kickstarter. A lot of stuff was promised in there. It was very successful for a while. After that rocky start, it got pretty successful. But unfortunately, that didn't last. I couldn't find a ton of information about this online, but Reverge Labs laid everybody off in 2012. But the publisher, Autumn Games, retained the rights to Skullgirls. And when they heard that group that got laid off was forming a new studio, Lab Zero, Autumn Games said, "Yep, we're behind you. We're 100% in your court." And that's where the team that developed all of this came from. That's what made the Skullgirls we know today. So, have you read a whole lot about the controversies with this game, Mikey?
So I know in the Discord you mentioned that there were two big controversies. One of them I was aware of because unfortunately that type of controversy is all too common. The other one I wasn't aware of, but after you brought it up, I was reading more about it. I was like, okay, I vaguely remember this happening, but yeah, I was gonna say I see that we're gonna discuss both of them here. But yeah, I think there's like two big issues that people have with I don't necessarily want to say the game, but like maybe the behind the scenes of the game, I think people take an issue with.
Oh yeah, no, it's definitely not the game at all. Well, one of them is kind of with the game.
Yeah.
This kind of gets into visuals a little bit, but I wanted to put that off proper. But there's really no way to talk around some of this stuff because it sort of ties in. This is a game that doesn't really shy away from sex appeal with the characters. They are not drawn to be like priggish or prude or anything. I mean, there's pretty visual cleavage a whole lot of the time. Sexy ladies with legs and hips, like most ladies have legs and hips. A lot of that kind of thing, short skirts, things like that. That was all promised. Like that was in the agreement. They never tried to pass this off as something else. So when folks were kickstarting this, they knew that this was like an aesthetic that was, kind of like, Cuphead-esque, like early animation-esque with a tinge of, like you said, Hot Topic. Like this was all made up front. Like they were like, this is an edgy little game. So why do we mention it? Well, as much as and Mikey can attest to this, as much as I hate fucking wading into Discord. No, I like wading into Discord, and you can join our free Discord. Link in the description. As much as I fucking hate wading into discourse, which I have here in 3 scare quotes, it would be totally disingenuous of us not to talk about the controversy and bring up the sex appeal of the game, because one of the controversies is that of sexual misconduct. So is this the one that you were unaware of, Mikey?
No, this is the one I did know. I got the name slightly confused. I know he went by Mike Z. I thought he just went by Z. But I remember he was accused of sexual misconduct by a few people. He is no longer involved in Skullgirls. But I believe, listeners at home, you can fact check me on this. I don't want to spread rumors online. But I believe he is involved with the new Avatar: The Last Airbender fighting game. And people are not happy with that either.
Oh, wow.
Because they're like, yeah. So essentially, they were making an Avatar fighting game. The company that was making that went bankrupt, and that game kind of just like disappeared into the ether. A new company bought the rights for the Avatar game, and they're just like going to pick up where they left off. And that new company hired Mike Z to like be the fighting game developer head guy because he has experience doing that. And everyone's like, weird move, Avatar company, who's ever making the game now, like whoever bought the rights. So unfortunately, he's not gone for good. He's making his way back. And like I said, people are not thrilled with that announcement.
Yeah, that's understandable. Wait, is that Avatar game dead? I could have swore I saw, like, I can't remember if it was Diaphone or Rooflemonger. I thought I saw somebody posting about it and how, like, Toph was really broken.
Yeah, so it was dead. It was developed like 6 years ago because that company went under. It got bought out by a new company, and they just picked up and they finished it. And Mike Z is working with that current company. I forget the name of it, but like it's no longer dead. And Mike Z is now involved with the quote, like resurrection of it, let's say.
Okay, you explained that like 45 seconds ago, didn't you?
Maybe it was like a minute or two ago. I'm gonna give you the benefit of the doubt. I don't think it was 45 seconds, but give or take.
Listen, I've got news for you. I'm not paid to listen. All right. In fact, I'm not paid at all. Patreon.com/pixelprojectradio. You are okay. So you are right. There were sexual misconduct allegations. This came out in 2020. He was accused of sexual harassment, verbal sexual harassment, by a couple of folks internally, and this was corroborated by a lot of folks, both internal and external. Some more surfaced after the fact, external to the company. DMs were shared. A lot of folks on Twitter back before it went to hell got involved. It was a pretty visible thing. Was this like big news back then in the fighting community? I know you've been more tuned into this than me for a long time.
It definitely was. 2020, that was part of the whole Me Too thing. And yes. I really hate to say it, but he was just like another drop in the bucket, because COVID happened. I don't know if you were aware of this. In 2020, there was this global pandemic. We couldn't go out and do things anymore. So there was a lot of people coming out and speaking out against people in power who were inappropriate because they didn't have to fear, oh, if I talk against this player or this tournament organizer, I'm going to have to see them every week, or they're going to retaliate and not let me go to their events. I'm stuck at home for who knows how long. So there was a lot of stuff coming out. I know Cannon, one of the guys who was like the founders of Evo, something happened with him where he was also accused of sexual misconduct and he had to step down from Evo.
Oh, geez.
So yeah. And just like, you know this, there's a whole bunch of Smash allegations going on. So I was aware of... Yeah, I was aware of these allegations, but like I said, unfortunately, it was just like, at least in like my sphere of the online world, it was drowned out by so many more allegations. It just became, oh, another one.
Yeah.
But I'm sure like to the Skullgirls community specifically, it was a big deal. But me, it was just like, oh, that sucks. That's awful. He shouldn't be there anymore.
An internal investigation occurred. And what ended up happening is they all got together as a board and they agreed they wanted to ask Mike from Lab Zero to resign. Now, it's important to note, Mike was sort of, I don't know what you would call it. Like he was the head guy. Like that was his studio, right? And what he ended up doing was he said, I will resign if you meet these demands. Like, here are my demands. If you can meet these, I will go, you know? They looked at them. And they were described as, quote, unrealistically high and potentially illegal, end quote. And as far as I know, they have not been made public, but that is an incredible way to describe them. So what he ended up doing was when they said no, he functionally fired them all. He was like, you have until August and then you're gone. And he disbanded the board. He took control of Lab Zero Games and everybody resigned. But everybody that did resign formed a new studio, Future Club. That's where the new Skullgirls on mobile came out. That's what's going on there. Mike, as you said, I'm pretty sure Lab Zero just kind of fizzled out. But now I guess he's with the Avatar game, which, you know, I hate to say it, but it looks pretty good.
Oh, yeah. I was about to say, I've seen footage of it. It looks like a lot of fun. And also, it looks like, I don't know if he's still involved with it. If it's gone through a whole bunch of different development cycles, because like I said, it got canceled, it got uncanceled. So I don't even know if he's still involved. I just know he was involved at some point in the development process.
There is a whole lot of information about this online. It goes deeper and deeper. I feel like the more you look into it from a whole host of different sources. So I encourage you to check it out. I'm not necessarily going to link anything in the description on this in particular. I don't know, something about it I guess feels a little gross, but I mean, it's everywhere. You can find it, whether that's on YouTube or social media or journalism outlets or what have you. But I encourage you to check it out, to look into it, and to come to your own opinion. And I don't say that in any sort of bad faith. I have no doubt that basically all of our listeners fall into the same camp and opinion as we do, Mikey, as you and I both do, that, you know, he's got to go. But even still, I mean, you should never just trust a podcaster at their word, especially not a video game podcaster. What do I always say? Never trust a video game podcaster's opinion on philosophy, politics, or especially video games. Yes, I mean that for everyone. Yes, I mean that for me. Anyway, guy's bad news. He's got to go. Further controversy occurred. We're out of the sex stuff now, but it did occur in the guise of censorship. Is this one that you knew about, Mikey?
So I did not know about this one, and then I was going through the notes. I was like, yeah, there's way more to this than I originally thought when you mentioned, oh, there was something about censorship. Yeah, I was not aware of any of these.
So this all occurred after Mike Z left once Lab Zero took over. Or, no, not Lab Zero. Future Club, yes. They made some censorship stuff. Notably, here's one. They removed, there used to be a Soviet announcer that would, you know, announce not the characters' names, but kind of jokingly talk about the characters in like a heavy Russian accent whenever you chose them on the select screen. That was voiced by Mike Z, so them removing that makes complete sense. Mm-hmm. No qualms from me there. they did remove some other stuff. They changed a significant amount of character renderings and animations and colors and designs, as well as removed a lot of story scenes and artwork that was included in the game. And they did that for two reasons. Two main reasons, and then one other reason that is an isolated one that I think is just disgusting. The main reason, the reason that you see the most, is because of the sexuality, right? And again, I mean, it's worth highlighting, this was something that was in the Kickstarter. They were upfront about what this was, and folks paid for it. But it's also hard to criticize that, because a lot of the animations and story scenes that were removed featured things like excessive cleavage, which for me, I don't see why they did that. Torn clothes, not in a like, oh geez, how do we even say it? Not in like a sexual way, but like in situations where characters are like beat up and their clothes are torn. They kind of redid that to show less skin. I understand it. I don't think it was necessary, but I get it. They also changed some colors and animations and frames and story scenes to, how to say this, remove a lot of the panty shots. Mm-hmm. That, you know, I get that. I understand that one. And by the way, you can view all of the censored material on YouTube. It doesn't take away anything from the game. It's read. You could see it. Really does not change much of anything. Now, the other thing that they did was they removed a lot of imagery that was suggestive of Nazis. In this game takes place in a sort of fictionally inspired, adjacent to post-World War II sort of America. And the bad guys in this game, you know, they wore red armbands. They had, I believe it's a black umbrella that sort of called to mind Nazis. And they removed a lot of that. Hey there, folks. Rick from the editing room here. I think this might have been a misunderstanding on my part and is maybe reductive of what's going on in the story. Truthfully, I'm not sure that it matters all that much, but I did want to note it all the same. The Black Egrets are pretty explicitly inspired from the Nazis in terms of like dress style and weaponry, but from what I understand in the lore is that they themselves as a group, like ideologically speaking, aren't really as heinous or vile toward different groups of people. They, quote, accept all from all walks of life is something that I think I saw bandied about from the developers talking about it way back when or something. The kingdom that they represent, on the other hand, the Canopy Kingdom, that starts to veer into the authoritarian side of things with how they rule their people especially. Parasol is the princess of the Canopy Kingdom, and the Black Egrets are under her direction. And, you know, this whole MK-style lore just being written by a couple of normal dudes, you can imagine some through lines in the story get a little hazy. Anyway, at the end of the day, here's pretty much what I've settled on here. Are the Black Egrets Nazis? No. Why do they look like that? Honestly, I think it's just because a couple of edgy young dudes in the early 2000s wanted to design them that way and thought it would look sick. I don't think much other thought or foresight went into it, you know, other than edgy and subversive for the sake of it. And then it follows that the censorship came as just a sort of, I guess, editing process, a live editing process, which opens up an entirely new discussion that, unfortunately, is not on the docket for today. Anyway, let's get back and continue the conversation in the episode proper. I don't know if it's insensitive to say, like, I don't understand why they did it.
I don't know either. I think if there's one thing the listeners of Pixel Project Radio can get behind, it's agreeing that the Nazis are the bad guys. So yes. I don't think anybody would be like, what's going on here? What, these bad guys are reminding me of Nazis. You know what? It's also like that Norm Macdonald joke, like 9/11 reminds me of that tragedy type of thing. Yeah, but just like, then they're bad guys. They look like Nazis. They're supposed to. They're doing that on purpose. We're not supposed to sympathize with them.
I just saw a clip of him last night where he was like, you know, I'm only scared of one country in the world, and it's Germany. And he takes this long beat, and he's like, I don't know if any of you are students of history. Man, he was such a master. Yes, Nazis are bad. Nazi sympathizers do not listen to this show. We don't want you here. Quite simply. But they did remove a lot of that. Again, it doesn't take away from anything. Like, they're not actual Nazis in the story, and the story doesn't suffer. but it's worth bringing up. And the one isolated incident that I just want to call out, and I think they removed it because of a lot of stuff that was happening, obviously in 2020 and 2021, but I still think it's pretty cowardly, is one of the characters in the canonical lore was a cop. He was a black man, and he is a black man, and he was a cop. Corrupt cops beat the shit out of him, and that's kind of kicked off his backstory. And they removed that entire scene from the game because they didn't want to show a black man being beaten by the cops. The cops very clearly being portrayed as horrid, corrupt monsters. I think that's pretty cowardly. It's okay to take a stance. I don't know.
Yeah, I was going to say, especially when there were like mass protests going on, I feel like having that, sometimes you go like, honestly, just even the way you described it, they weren't even going for all cops are corrupt. They were going for these specific cops that we have are corrupt, which I feel like that's just a story beat. There's thousands of movies that are like, oh yeah, you got to watch out for the corrupt cops. That's not even like a controversial thing. Right. So you're right. I don't think they should have taken that one out. It's not like that's barely a political stand to have anymore, saying like, yeah, the cops shouldn't jump people, but they took it out, and what are we going to do?
Yeah, and like from a business standpoint, I don't agree with it, but I can see why they would. They don't want to potentially lose money, especially in such a politically charged time. Even still, I'm with you. It was not necessarily saying all cops, although you could interpret that, and I would interpret it that way, yeah, unabashedly. But they removed it. Again, it really doesn't. It really doesn't make the story worse as a whole. It's just so much of this removal happened that it's worth mentioning. They also removed a digital art book that was clearly promised within the Kickstarter that folks paid money, that donated money to create this game. That was a promise, as was the Soviet announcer, I think. But it was a goal that was in folks' libraries and was taken away. And this opens up a whole new discussion about digital ownership and whether it is in fact ownership. Folks being able to lose the stuff they purchased without any notification or consent in the matter. There's actually a really good just random blog post essay that I've lost, but I would link it if I could, but I can't find it anymore. That's talking about all of this, and it goes into digital ownership in today's day and age, and how we're not on a good path, and that's why a lot of folks like our Discord members are much more eager to buy physical, because you own it. They can't take that away from you.
Yeah.
Software updates aside, but yeah, the digital art book was removed. Some of the in-game art was also removed, and the team made it virtually impossible to mod that stuff back in. I don't actually know how that works, but you cannot mod back in the story scenes or the art that was removed. There was a mod. I tried to do it, and it just straight up did not work. So they're working on it, and every link that I found to patch rollbacks, if you wanted to do that, it was just taken down. So I think they're aggressively pursuing this. I don't know. The whole thing just leaves a sour taste in my mouth, even if some of the quote censorships seem sensible. The whole thing is just very strange.
Yeah, it comes up a lot with older cartoons. Like I know the Looney Tunes have it, Disney cartoons have it. When it comes to digital ownership, you can't see me because it's a podcast. I'm doing very heavy air quotations over digital ownership. But I feel like Disney was going back and changing things. Looney Tunes is very much like, hey guys, this is a product of its time. It's not great. Please take this as a learning experience. They just put a disclaimer at the start of it, and they left it in there. I don't know why they couldn't have just done that.
And I think that's the responsible thing to do, right? Is not to run from the past, but to acknowledge it and say, it was a different time and this was insensitive. But, we're not going to pretend like it didn't happen. Let's own up to what we did. That in retrospect is a mistake. I think that's the responsible thing to do. Yeah, I don't know. That is a good example, though. Whole thing is very messy. Yeah. Definitely recommend checking it out for yourself. It's an interesting rabbit hole to go down, if nothing else. And it does make me a little bit sad because I really think a sequel to this game would have been just incredible.
Are they still releasing DLC for this game?
For the mobile or for Second Encore?
For Second Encore.
I do not believe so.
Okay, so they're doing DLC for the mobile game. Okay, I was about to say, I thought something was still actively being worked on, but it's probably the mobile game, because I know you mentioned that's their big thing at the moment, which is just silly to me, but it is what it is.
That's where the original folks are, I'm pretty sure. Let's talk a little bit about the story. The story and the lore, that is. This is like Mortal Kombat, right? Everything in Second Encore, you have an arcade mode, which I fucking love. Even if it's something as simple as Street Fighter 6, where you just get a couple of storyboard scenes and just a little bit of what they're doing. I love that. You know, it bums me out a little bit when I boot up Virtua Fighter 5 and it's just like, well, you can practice or you can play through the arcade or you can go online. It's like, yeah, I know. I don't know. I just want to exist in the world a little bit.
Yeah, as someone who doesn't pay for PlayStation Network, so I can't play Skullgirls online, I am always a big proponent of fighting game single-player modes, which I feel like are notoriously neglected in development. So I was very happy with this.
Mm-hmm. And it's really quite nice. Voice acted, which is really, really good. The voice actors do a great job. They're very believable in their characters. And this is, as I said, similar to Mortal Kombat insofar as you play one character's route, and it's kind of a what-if scenario, like what if they were the victor in all of this. There are, this is so strange and funny to me. Second Encore is considered not canonical because of that. The mobile game is fully canonical. It's explaining the events that lead up to Second Encore. But there are some events in Second Encore that occur across like a bunch of different routes. Those are canonical. For example, Marie is the Skullgirl in this one. That is just canon. The Medici family and the Contiello family. Is it Contiello?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, they are the warring factions of the families. Like, that's all canon. Everything else is kind of what if. Pretty cool. I think that's fun. You know, they don't have any of the super fucked up cutscenes from like Mortal Kombat 4 with Jarek and Jax and everybody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But, you know, it's still pretty good. You get a bunch of story scenes, great art, beautiful art. I mean, I'm just going to say before we even get to the visuals, the art is all hand-drawn. The frames, the animation frames of the characters, all hand-drawn. It is just gorgeous.
Yeah, I am a big fan of that style of animation, even like outside of video games. I just think that golden age of animation is really fun. I have a couple like animation and cartoon history books on my bookshelf, and I love reading about that particular segment and like the advancements that they did when they were first discovering animation. And I can't remember if it was a video or a blog post by the art team for this game, but they said their big thing they were trying to do was combine like Western style art with Eastern style animation. They were like, what if we took Popeye and like Mickey Mouse and like those and like Betty Boop, those old school 1920s cartoons, but we animated them like it was anime, like it was Dragon Ball Z. And they were talking about like the frame movements, like specifically, yeah, it's hand drawn in that style, but the way like it's animated in the frames and what we drew and what we didn't draw was very heavily inspired by like Japanese animation. I thought it was cool the way they melded the two big animation industries.
Oh, absolutely. You can totally see that too.
Yeah.
Yes, this is technically non-canon. There was originally a full comprehensive story plan called The Nightmare Legacy for Second Encore. At the time, they didn't have the DLC characters ready yet that they did eventually release. However, then everything crumbled and, you know, plans have to change. The mobile version is canon. It sets up everything going into Second Encore. I have not personally played it, but I've looked up gameplay. It is swiping based, like you have to swipe to move and swipe to jump, tap to attack. And it does not work, from what I hear, with a controller. So I will not be playing it. You're not a mobile phone player, are you?
No, I want to be a mobile phone player because I think it's convenient. Not necessarily like oh, I'm gonna go download Farmville, but like my Android can be essentially an emulator for pretty much any game 2003 and earlier. Like I downloaded Final Fantasy Tactics around the same time you were doing the Final Fantasy Tactics program, and I was gonna like play along with it, and I hated the touch controls playing it on my phone. I was like, it's from the PSP, it's on the go, this is how it's designed to be made, but I like having the buttons, even just like the virtual buttons on the touchscreen. I did not get very far in that game. I was like, yeah, just mobile gaming is not for me.
I'm right there with you, dude. It's a shame because, like, as you said, phones are pretty powerful. Phones nowadays, like, you could emulate comfortably, like, up through some PS2.
Yeah.
It is, like, it's not even a thing. And they make gaming phones. Like, ROG makes a phone. And it's got like a better dual core CPU, or maybe even dual CPUs. It's got a whole cooling system and a fan.
Wow.
Like, these are, like, you can do it, especially with the screen sizes these days. I mean, geez Louise. But I'm with you. Swiping to play just sucks. Yeah, I can't. Final Fantasy Tactics Mobile. It's a shame that it's not controller supported because that's kind of the best version, or at least it was before the Evil East Chronicles came out. But yes, the Skullgirls mobile does exist if you want. If you don't want and want to do what I did, I'm going to link in the description a full playlist of all the story mode scenes. They are between like 5 to 12 minutes long, so not a huge commitment. And you can get all of the backstory. Want to play this? You want to do a quick rundown, quick and dirty of the lore behind this, Mikey?
Yes, let's get it. Because I was going to say, going back to that, I said, I think fighting games need more single-player content or better single-player content. In a world where a lot of games, stories, there's like, yeah, man, there's like a tournament. We just invited a bunch of fighters, and like that is the whole story mode. There is a whole bunch of stuff going on here. Rick, you were nice enough. You typed up some notes. I'm looking at it now. There's like so many like proper nouns, and I love that in a story mode for a fighting game.
This isn't even everything, man. Like it gets wild. So what it was is like thousands of years ago, there are these things called parasites, and they're basically godlike beings that are worshipped. 3 of them are in our game. Their names are Samson, Sekhmet, and Leviathan. I think it's Leviathan, right? The one in Squiggly?
Yes, I believe so.
They all got into a fight. Eons passed, and parasites sort of became this taboo thing, you know, like old religion, you know, like the witchcraft, the Gnosticism, the Gnostic Gospels, totally taboo, can't talk about them. One of the characters in this game, a shapeshifter named Double, begins at this point to offer her the skull heart to women. Every 7 years, it grants them a wish, but according to the intro cinematic, if their heart is not pure, it twists the wish and also turns them into something called a Skullgirl, which is functionally a weapon of destruction. Those 3 parasites that we mentioned, Samson, Sekhmet, and Leviathan, they find hosts in 3 of our characters, Philia, Eliza, and Squiggly. The weird thing is they're not necessarily evil. Like I only went through the story mode out of those 3 with, I went with Samson and Squiggly. The parasites are like they care about their hosts. They're not evil.
Yeah, no, I noticed that too, and I thought that was a really interesting way to do it, just because a lot of times, again, I'm going back to complaining about fighting game story modes. Fighting game story modes, they are not JRPGs. You're not going to sink 80 hours into the campaign with a bunch of different branching paths and learn everything that's going on. A lot of times it's just like, there's a tournament, there is a bad guy doing bad things, and the good guy wins by punching. So the fact that they have details like this, and they're not necessarily bad or they're necessarily evil, I thought was a really like refreshing take to a fighting game story.
Yeah, it is really cool, and like to that point, not necessarily evil. Samson, at the very least, like ends up saving Philia. Like she was going to die. This is revealed in the mobile storyline. Like she was going to die. Her family is the Medici family, the mafia family. Her immediate family sort of like got away from that. You know, they went AWOL, which if you've ever watched The Sopranos, you cannot go down to Florida. You cannot do that.
Oh, dude, I know this is not a Sopranos podcast. I literally...
It could be.
It could be. Let's abandon Skullgirls right now. I just watched that episode of The Sopranos. We're going to talk season 6 the rest of the episode.
Poor Eugene. That's all I want to say.
Yeah.
Man, so ruthless that he just got Silvio to pull him aside. He's like, the boss says it's not a good idea.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
But anyway, That game, Skullgirls, whatever happened there?
Whatever happened
The
there?
other family, the Contiello family, or maybe it was the rest of the Medici mafia. They came in. Oh, it was them. They came in and they were like, "What are you doing running away? Like, do you think we think it's a coincidence that all this trouble happens after you run away?" And they're like, "No, we didn't want to be a part of this mess." And everybody gets gunned down. Philia is dying, so Samson jumps into her as a host. He was inside of a dog. The dog gets shot and dies. So he jumps into Philia, saves her life. It's pretty cool. It's cool stuff. Really interesting. Yeah. But all of this, we don't need to get too into the weeds. All of this is beset by that warring faction, the Medici family and the Contiellos. There's also a war going on. Like we mentioned the World War II adjacent stuff. This grand war going on between the Gigan nation, the Chess Kingdom, and the Canopy Kingdom. They had to all come together to kill this Skullgirl that, was rampaging. That created this huge chasm, huge crater. That's kind of where this story picks up. A lot of stuff going on, and it's like Mortal Kombat in that way, like just shit is going on, and we're dropped into it. Save Earthrealm, kill the Skullgirl.
Yeah, very much so.
Did you play through any of these arcade modes?
I played through. Let me see here. All right, so Painwheel was the first one I played through because, like I said, I like playing
Her story
Painwheel.
Is sad.
Yeah, it was, and it didn't end happy either. But I wanted to play Valentine's story mode, but because technically she was like DLC that came with second Encore, for me to unlock that story mode, I had to beat everybody else's story mode, and I was like, I'll play a few of them, but
I don't know if it's because she's DLC. She and Double are both locked, and I think it's because they play a pivotal role in setting up the canonical story, I think.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, but I was gonna say, so I could not play Valentine's story mode. So then I played Painwheels, and then I played the very first girl on the character select screen, the top left. I'm drawing a blank on her name, but I figured if I'm gonna start somewhere, I might as well start with the first one, and then I played through that one.
Makes sense. Was it the like really Disney looking one, Peacock?
No, it was not Peacock. Because I have notes later on here. I hate Peacock, so I did not play her. I did not get through that.
The most zoner character that's ever existed.
Yeah, she's not fun to fight against because I hate zoners. But I'm sure we'll get to that. But I think the girl I played with was the girl with the black hair who has mouths. She's kind of just like Philia. Okay, she's like the default training girl.
Yeah,
I think
Philia.
she was the first. Yeah, so I did her after Painwheel.
Okay, well, Painwheel is in Philia's story, and they do have a happy ending there.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah. I was about to say, I remember in Painwheel's specific one, it ends, she beats Valentine, she beats, is it Marie? Is Marie the big final boss?
Yes.
Yeah, so she beats Marie, and then at the end, she was like, I'm still not cured, and then, her family chases her out of the house because she's a monster.
That is sad. Yeah. Yeah, I played through Philia's as well. I played through Cerebella's and Squiggly too, just because, I like playing as them. Cerebella's is not very interesting at all. Kind of just centers around her being a henchman for the Contiello family and also a trapeze circus artist. But yeah, it's neat stuff. I think you and I are in the same boat. We're probably going to go through at least a couple more. Me personally, I'm planning on going through all of them, even if it means I have to play Painwheel and Peacock, but I really want to.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. There's a good chance I'll play through at least a few more. Once I get that done, if I only have a couple left, I'll be like, I'll just finish it off. I really want to play Valentine. So it depends how much I enjoy playing the rest of the characters. If I start playing these characters I'm not familiar with and I'm not enjoying my time, it might sour it. But if not, if I'm enjoying it, I'm like, I'm just going to keep going. They don't take very long to get through these story modes. I know a lot of times in arcades, these type of story modes, they have 9 levels. It's a whole bunch to get through because they want to eat your quarters. I think the story modes for here, only a few stages. They didn't take me very long to get through their quote arcade mode.
No, not at all. I mean, I think it's probably comparable, maybe a bit longer because of the story scenes to Street Fighter 6, and those are pretty short.
Yeah, definitely.
Let's talk the art style and the characters. So we had talked about art style kind of around this the whole time. It's got that sort of golden age of movies, noir tinged, early animation, and just the tiniest bit of edge to it. And of course, everything's hand drawn. It's really astounding. That alone, I don't know how this didn't take off even more than it did.
Yeah, and especially at the time it came out, I believe it came out not long after The Princess and the Frog, the Disney movie with Tatiana.
Oh yeah.
That is the last hand-drawn traditional Disney animated movie. And I remember at the time when Disney announced that they were abandoning the 2D hand-drawn and moving to all computer-generated, there was a big outcry from like specific sectors of like the internet who liked the more, I don't want to say authentic, but the more old school, just like the more like the literal hand-drawn one. And there's always a big push to be like, oh, you should bring back the analog way of doing things. So you're right. I'm surprised this didn't take off more solely because of the animation technique. I feel like that was also a big draw to Cuphead. Cuphead also did like that whole like 20s cartoon aesthetic style, and people loved that. Granted, it's a different genre, different play style.
Sure.
But like I think the art style of Cuphead was also it's funny because it tugs on this sense of nostalgia that pretty much everybody playing it is too young to have. Like, I am not nostalgic for 20s cartoons, but the things I grew up with instilled in me, I should be nostalgic for 20s cartoons because they were nostalgic for 20s cartoons. And it's almost like secondhand nostalgia for me. Like, I'm not from the 30s. I didn't grow up watching the original, like, black and white 1927 Mickey Mouse, but that was really influential in a lot of things. And the stuff I liked was influenced by that. So, like, secondhand, third hand, I'm like, oh, I get that. So I do have a sense of like a fond sense of awareness for the style of animation.
I do wonder if it's not because, like, I don't know about you, but I grew up, watching the stuff that was contemporary, Doug, Angry Beavers, Street Sharks, stuff like that. But, also constantly Looney Tunes, Tom and Jerry, Rocky and Bullwinkle, like all of that stuff was constantly on. And it very clearly doesn't look like all of that older stuff from the 20s, 30s, 40s. It's clearly taking inspiration from it.
Definitely. I've been going back recently and watching a lot of older animated shorts from the 20s, 30s, all the way up until the 50s. For a while, I was trying to come up with a syllabus to teach a history of animation class at my local library. That didn't go anywhere because the library didn't have the right to like show the movies I wanted to as part of the class. And they were like, yeah, we're going to have to like gut 75% of your syllabus and change it to be all Disney movies. And I'm like, that's not what I want to do. But like on my own time, I was doing a lot of history and a lot of research into the history of animation and watching the old cartoons. And I watched stuff from like 1916 when the first animated movie came out. I think it was like The Adventures of Prince Ahmed. It was either 1906 or 1916, all the way up to now. Just like Looney Tunes does not look like the black and white rubber hose style Cuphead, but their animation and their jokes very much indebted to that. You can tell that I'm drawing a blank on the guy's name who worked for Looney Tunes, who did all of the big cartoons, but he's very much indebted to Walt Disney and Oob Works because like he grew up watching that stuff and it's apparent in his work.
I wonder if there's something to that sort of communal nostalgia that a lot of us have, even though like you and I were not born then, but that it's just such a part of the culture that, it's sort of forced itself to be a sort of nostalgia. Like we're longing for a time that we never had.
Yeah.
Which I mean, story of the millennial life, right?
Yeah. And I was going to say, I think that a lot. I think a lot of the movies that I grew up with were also really reminiscent of like the 50s. Like there's something about like coffee and cigarettes that's just romantic, and I don't smoke and I don't drink coffee. It's just like the idea of like American romanticism of just like that era of just like the good old days. But really, how good was it,
Well, this has been Skullgirls, folks. No, yeah, that's the visual style really is beautiful. If you don't want to play fighting games, I do like visual and sound are the two that I would say you got to check out from this game, especially. There's something really beautiful about the 3D models of Fighters Megamix. That's the one that we just talked about. There's a lot of beautiful things about anime fighters, like Under Night. There is nothing that looks like Skullgirls. Absolutely nothing. Cuphead is maybe the closest, but even it is still there is a sheen and an innocence to Cuphead, like a purity in terms of its character that is not present in Skullgirls because they wanted it, as we said, they wanted it to be edgier and a little darker, more noir tinged. Really, there's nothing like it, which is why it's, again, such a bummer that, everything happened the way it happened. People were terrible, and we never got a true sequel. But maybe we will. Maybe they'll get enough money from the mobile port that they'll, do something. I don't want to say proper, but I'm going to say proper. You know what I mean?
They're going to get Skullgirls' third encore. It's going to be the new mobile update.
I mean, more power to them if that's what they want to do, but it'll never be as fleshed out as something on a proper machine.
Yeah.
Characters, though, we've talked around the visual style quite a bit. And I guess we should say too, the backgrounds are all, I'm pretty sure they're all hand drawn as well. Art books within the game, you can see tons of art, promotional art designed by the team, guest art as well. There's a lot of guest art that they promote and feature, a lot of different art styles. It's really, really, really good. That's where a lot of the boobage lies.
Yeah, I was going through like the art booklets that they have, because I always think that's like a fun thing. I know they do that. A lot of like the Capcom fighting collections will feature like concept art and like prototype art. But one of the coolest things about this was a lot of the art that they featured was just like fan art, because the game's been out since for like over a decade. So people have been drawing their characters the whole time and sending it in. And I think it's really cool that they're able to like celebrate the fans like that and include really cool fan art as well.
Yeah, they seem to be pretty big on that, even going so far as to add Sonic Fox into the game themselves.
Yeah, Sonic Fox is in the tutorial stages, right?
Yep, they are standing in the background. Sometimes it is the teacher character. Sometimes it is Sonic Fox. The characters themselves, I wrote some of the most unique character design I've ever seen. I'm thinking about Mortal Kombat, love it or hate it, is pretty creative. Street Fighter, Street Fighter is just Street Fighter. Tekken is just Tekken. You get your occasional like Mokujin and what is that, Jack 8?
Yeah, sometimes you just get like the one oddball character among like the regular humanoid looking people. You're right.
But Skullgirls too, like I think the art combined with the character designs, it's extremely unique in that regard. There are some, just normal looking characters. You had mentioned Philia. She's pretty much just a normal high school girl, except her hair is a parasite and has teeth, which, if you weren't looking, you wouldn't notice it.
I'm going to be honest, looking at it, I didn't clock it was teeth until just like quite a bit into it. I'm like, oh, that's just like the hair design. I'm like, oh, that's like something on her. Okay.
Yeah, and there are other normal looking characters too. Like one of the two male characters in here, Beowulf. He's just a normal wrestler looking dude. Marie also. She's kind of pale for story reasons, but she just looks like a person in a maid costume.
Yeah.
Parasol, just Jessica Rabbit, but in this game.
Yeah, she's just a redhead. I don't even think there's anything weird about her like the other people. I know you mentioned Philia. She looks like a normal person, but she has a parasite for hair. I think Parasol is just a person.
Yeah, she's drawn in the same manner as Jessica Rabbit. Is it Jessica Rabbit? Am I thinking of the right person? The redhead from Who Framed Roger Rabbit?
Yes, Jessica Rabbit, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, like same thing. Like half legs, hourglass figure, obviously long red hair. Just a normal person.
Yeah, she's very classic, like femme fatale. She's like in all black. She's like serious, like mysterious, sexy, but you don't want to fuck with her type of gal. Yeah, that's very classic femme fatale.
Femme fatale was the word I was looking for. Thank you. Yes. But you've got them. You've also got some like weird fantasy or horror inspired characters. There is a combination, like kind of like zombie cat girl named Ms. Fortune, who can just rip her own head off and actually uses it as a puppet character, which is pretty sick. One of the parasites, Sekhmet, lives inside of a woman that looks exactly like Cleopatra and can rip Cleopatra's skin off and come out and be its own fighter. That's pretty sweet.
Yeah, that was very fun. I was about to say, I know we'll get to the characters in a bit, but I didn't necessarily like playing her all that much, but she was really fun to fight against because I was like, oh, that's so cool that she does that.
Yeah, absolutely. Like those kinds of things, like adjacent to fantasy horror. And then you've also just got like the really weird ones, like Double. I don't even know how to describe what Double looks like. Like Double's moveset, she turns into the other characters for like one attack. You know, it doesn't matter what the attack is either. Low kick, high kick, special moves, dashes, literally everything except ducking and jumping and walking. But I don't know how to describe, like, it looks like a disgusting mound of flesh. Like that's just the height of a person.
Yeah, just like she looks like a nun when she's like in her normal mode, but then I don't know, like disgusting pound of flesh, like a parasite, just like something out of like a David Cronenberg body horror movie. I don't know, but just like yeah, she's a little out there. Not super out there, but I think another fun one is Robo Fortune.
Oh yes,
Like a robot version of the quasi Catwoman you mentioned a few minutes ago. There's just a robot clone of her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't. She's very quick. I don't particularly like playing as her, but it is pretty cool they included her. You've also just got weird ass characters too, like Double or like Big Band, who is a giant man in a trench coat that's made out of instruments, like made out of saxophones and trumpets, clarinets and bass drums. Very bizarre. But these characters all play pretty differently too, which is the really cool part. So you had mentioned that you like playing as Valentine and can't remember the other one you said.
Painwheel.
Yeah, Valentine and Painwheel. Painwheel, I would say, falls squarely into the horror design. Like, what do those two play like?
Okay, so Painwheel is almost. I was getting vibes of, despite being much smaller, Sentinel from Marvel vs. Capcom 2. Because they both have like a hover mechanic, and a lot of what they do is they will hover and then kind of like from above you attack down. And I dug that vibe. And then as for Valentine, she's kind of like a tricky character because she has like not quite a sword, but she'll hit you with like an IV drip, like the little stand. So it's almost like a sword. But also, so she can stab you with like different vials of medicine. They're fucky. They're weird. One of them can impair an opponent's input lag. She just like, she will stab you with either a red or a green vial and it fucks with your controller. It adds more lag to it. That's bonkers. I've never seen that in another game. Like, that's a wild concept to include.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it whenever that came up in the tutorial. I was so like shocked that was a thing. And I guess this kind of blends into the mechanics too, which I do have later in the notes, but we might as well just talk about them all here. There are some mechanics throughout here that are just so unique. Like the input lag is maybe representative of this the most, like that you just don't ever see. But I mean, there are a few others too, like Squiggly. I mentioned that I like playing as Squiggly. She has a move where she just brings the screen in such that she's the center. And forces, so like if you have a zoner character that likes to stay at the edge of the screen, like Peacock, she just shrinks the screen and then puts it back normal, so you're back in the center. I've never seen that before.
Oh, that's so fun. No, I've never seen that either. I really like it when a game will mess with like the expectations of the medium or of the genre. Like they are both playing with like classic fighting game design choices. Like when you have a fighting game, the development team has to decide how does the camera move in and out based on how close or how far away the characters are. Or they have to design how much like native lag or how much buffering are we going to put on these controllers. And I like that they are like taking the meta stance of just like, yeah, we're going to be playing with like the confines of a fighting game. I think that's so clever.
Let's put a pin in that in terms of them acknowledging the meta and the finer aspects, because I think that is really important. But just continuing to talk about the characters themselves and their kits a little bit, they do get a little more in-depth, not in-depth, but they do some things that you don't often see in these archetypes, like Cerebella, for example. One of the characters that I really like to play, which, by the way, it kind of shocked me because she is both a grappler character, which I don't normally like to be, and also a charge character, which she's not really, but she has a charge move that is like kind of central to her kit. Charge characters especially, I know everybody says that they're the easiest and like they're for beginners because the inputs are simple. I do not know how to play them. I don't know how to do their game sense. I genuinely don't know, other than like just sitting in the corner holding down and back. I don't know how to play them.
Maybe I'm going to lose like my FGC card here, but I'm totally with you as well. I've never been able to get the hang of like charge characters. I just like fundamentally like I don't get how they work, how they interact with everyone else. I'm like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I'd rather just do like a quarter circle.
Yeah. But the cool thing about Cerebella, though, is, yeah, she's got a charge move, but she's primarily a grappler. She's got command grabs that can be countered into, which is very unusual. She's got a glide because canonically she's like in the circus. She's got these, she's got this hat that's got two gigantic, like muscular arms. It's got to be some kind of sentient thing. I don't know if it's a parasite, but she can use it to glide as a grappler. That's so weird. And she's also got like jump in combos and like quick combos that takes you into the air, which again for a grappler is just completely strange. She's also basically got not really a dragon punch, but it's like an anti-air stationary dragon punch, if that makes sense. Totally antithetical to grapplers.
Yeah, I was going to say I am not much of a grappler person either. I played a little bit of her. And she was really fun. She was really unique. And I also noticed that like Dragon Punch anti-air. And I just kept going, every time I found something new from her kit.
That's basically what I was saying at every single moment playing this game.
Yeah.
There are some other character archetypes too. Like you had mentioned Peacock. We had both mentioned Peacock. We don't like playing as Peacock. How many more times can we say that? Her entire kit basically revolves around getting to the edge of the screen and just throwing bombs and projectiles and toy cars and whatever to stay. Oh, and a gun to stay away. Which I find that to be really annoying, especially in Smash too. Like with Link, the Links and my arch nemesis, the Belmonts. I don't know. I really dislike zoners, but she is the archetype of a zoner. She is the zoner's zoner. So if you're into that kind of thing, she is for you.
And if you are into that kind of thing, don't play me online. I don't want to hang out with you. It won't be fun. I'm sorry.
Well, it might be better in Skullgirls. Skullgirls has a famously good netcode, like some of the best. So you can't do the Smash thing, get online with laggy Wi-Fi and just spam Horrible Cross and Holy Water.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how you make enemies and not friends. But other characters in their move kits, who else do we got? We mentioned Double. Double sort of uses a grab bag of other characters' moves.
You casually mentioned Misfortune a little bit earlier. Mm-hmm. I think that's fun that she can like take herself apart and like use them like for a while. Like her head will just like be on the floor and you're playing as like a headless version, and then like you can interact with your head while it's off your body. Almost, I don't want to say it's like the same thing to like King K. Rool's crown in Smash Bros, where like you can, but it's a similar where like it's on your person, it's on your body, you take it off, it's now on the ground, and you can use that in the environment. I just think that's endlessly fun.
Well, I think it's notable to say that when it's attached, she's kind of like a rushdown character. Like she does really good at getting in close. But when her head's off, it's less like K. Rool's crown, and more like a puppet character because you can control it. And like if you throw it across to the other end of the stage, you can move the head and you can do attacks with the head that are independent from Misfortune's body. So you can set up combos between the body and the head, which is bonkers. Yeah,
that is just like, all of these characters are so much fun. I think that's really big into why I had so much time enjoying it. A lot of times with a fighting game, there's like one or two characters I'll vibe with, and then I'll get bored of playing those one or two characters and I don't want to keep playing. But like all of these characters are so different and so unique, and every time I did something new, because like I said, I would do my two mains and then that third one was random, I'd be like, oh, this is so different. I've never seen that before.
Yeah, it's interesting. I would really love to get good with Parasol, because she's slower. Like she doesn't have a double jump or an air dash. She doesn't move very quickly, but her whole kit relies on one, charging attack. She's a charge character, but 2, she's like a trap charge character where she sets sort of these traps around field that either detonate or you can detonate them. And that's trap characters are another one that for me are I can't. It's like oil and water. I don't know how to do it. But they did add some DLC. You had mentioned that a while ago. That came in the form of Annie, who is a magical girl. I don't know. Annie's not like that's like an in-game TV show, right? That's not an actual.
Yes, yeah. Annie is an in-game. That's not like a character from like our world.
Okay, she's pretty fun. She fights with a sword. That's pretty cool. Umbrella is another one. She's this tiny little girl in a raincoat and an umbrella that has like an eye and a gaping mouth. She's Parasol's younger sister. Marie, who is the Skullgirl, like the end boss, you can be her, which is pretty cool. What's her moveset like? How would you describe her?
Is her moveset in single player the same as like her boss fight stuff?
No, not even close.
Gotcha. I was going to say, I don't think I have any of the DLC characters because I was interested in playing Black Dahlia and she was not on my roster, I don't think.
That is a shame. Okay, so Marie, she can send like dust bunnies out of her vacuum. She has some moves where this giant like ghost skeleton comes out and like punches the opponent, things like that. I don't really know how to describe her as an archetype. It's a shame that you don't have Black Dahlia because she is the most busted character I have ever seen in a fighting game.
Really? Wow.
She just has everything. She has a teleportation move. She has fake outs. She has ranged attacks. She has a gun that has 5 different kinds of bullets. Each bullet can fire 3 different angles. I'm pretty sure I'm remembering right. She has bombs that can stick to the opponent. She has a counter. One of her specials literally stops the game and lets you choose your bullets that you load into your gun, because normally the reloads are random. You don't get to choose like whether you get the fire bullet that gets them on fire, the ice bullet that freezes them, the laser bullet that shoots out so quick I don't think you can react to it. The special just lets you pick whatever you want. It's insane. Like, she is so busted. I can't imagine that she would be legal in any kind of tournament play.
Yeah, that's I had no idea. I might have to, depending how much the DLC is, I might just have to like invest in this, because I was also interested in trying Annie, just because, like I said earlier, I like characters with swords, and it looks like she has a sword or a dagger. I'm like, yeah, I'm down for that. So maybe next time it goes on sale, I'll buy this group, like this DLC package.
Yeah, Annie does have a sword. She has a pretty cool kit. It's kind of just a rush down for the most part. The DLC is on the expensive side. I think it's $35 for those characters, for extra art, extra outfits, I think, stages, stuff like that. One thing that I'm curious about, though, is, we were talking Fighters Megamix, and that's kind of a mix of Virtua Fighter, which is very methodical and slow, like defensive. Not defensive, but like you really have to think before making your move, and combined with Fighting Vipers, which is a little more aggressive, but the marriage of those two. And we talked about Under Night, which is, what did Demon say? I said it promotes aggression, and he said it promotes pressure. And I think that's the better way to describe it. Mm-hmm. Okay. It's a really quick game that doesn't necessarily encourage defensive play. It encourages getting up there and pressuring. I don't know how to describe Skullgirls because it does so many things. Like, it's a quick game, but it's not as quick as Under Night. It's got double jumps and super jumps and air dashes, but at the same time, there's a lot of defensive options too, and a lot of different character archetypes like zoners and charge characters and rushdowns. But at the same time, each archetype kind of subverts what its archetype usually is. And then also, it's a tag fighter like Marvel vs. Capcom, but you don't have to do 3v3. You can do 2v2 or 1v1, or if you want 1v3 and stuff like that. So I don't know how to describe this game.
Yeah, it's all over the place. You said at the top of the episode, it's not as crazy as some anime fighters, but I think it's definitely more hectic than your other traditional 2D fighters. I think it's more hectic than your Street Fighters, than your Mortal Kombats. So probably like somewhere in the middle. I'd say maybe not as fast as MVC2, but I'd say it's like similar to like a Marvel vs. Capcom 1. If I remember correctly, when they did that, they tried to slow the game down and not make it as janky. from the previous, like, I think it was X-Men versus Street Fighter. And the fans were like, whoa, you slowed it down. You try to make it more grounded. We liked the bonkers off the wall shit. There was so much going on at all the times. So they go, okay, we'll go back to that for MVC 2 because that's what the people want. But like that middle entry of Marvel vs. Capcom 1 is just like a slowed down version of MVC 2. And I think that's probably like the closest similarity we have to this, where it is fast. There's a lot going on, but it is not as mind-boggling busy as some of the anime fighters. Like,
True.
And I know when we watch Evo, Hannah, my partner, will watch some of it with me, and she gets lost watching Guilty Gear because there's just so much shit happening. Even if it's just one-on-one, you don't have characters like popping in from the sides. It's so fast, and like people are throwing shit, or like they're up and fighting, or the combo words are really big on the screen. There's like visually a lot going on. And it's like tough for someone who doesn't know the game to follow along with. And I feel like she would have a similar issue with Skullgirls. So it's like a similar speed to that, I'd say.
You know what's an interesting counter to that though is I can't remember the YouTuber, but it's somebody that's like deep in the Skullgirls scene. I don't think they were a pro at any time, but somebody that's very deep in the scene. They have like a whole series on how to get started, and something that they mentioned was that one of the things that sets Skullgirls apart is they said that it's exciting for everybody involved. Like it's exciting for the players because obviously you're playing, and it's exciting for the spectators too, because you are watching something that one person is not just dominating. You know, one person is not getting 0 to death in the corner and just getting juggled to death. It's like both characters are watching. It's fast and fast paced. It's exciting. 3v3 sometimes even. So like I can get why Hannah would be a little bit overwhelmed and maybe overstimulated with so much visual clutter going on, if you want to call it that. But like I do think there's something to that. Like watching this game, it's not, as you said, it's not quite as fast as some of the quicker ones. Like certainly not some of your Blaze Blues. I don't remember how fast Guilty Gear is, but or like Under Night is another great example. Persona Ultimax, it's not quite that quick, but it is. I don't know, and it is heavily combo based though. So there's something to be there's enjoyment to be had, I think, from anybody involved.
I think I saw the same video that you did where he said it was fun or was enjoyable for everybody involved. And I think that's definitely true. I think like if it was at Evo, I could invite friends over who have never played these games before, and they'd probably enjoy watching this more than they would than, let's say, like a Blaze Blue, like you said. I think it would be easier to get a casual to like, just, all right, here's what you got to watch out for. Here's what's going on. And then they would get excited for it quicker than they would another game. But yeah, I have fun. I think viewers have fun. I agree with you. I agree with what that guy said.
And in no small part either because of the hand-drawn art style. You know, that's another factor that makes this interesting to watch versus like your Guilty Gear, which is, you know, it's just a 3D kind of thing. Like it's 2D, but you can tell that it's computer. It's drawn by computer, which means that it has no soul because a computer, what is the meme? A computer cannot feel hate or horniness, so it cannot create art. Yeah, not the case in Skullgirls, that's for sure. Another thing too, like we're comparing it a lot to Marvel vs. Capcom and other anime fighters. Those are generally, and actually now that I'm saying it out loud, I don't think I know an exception other than Skullgirls. Those are all going to be 4-button fighting games. Whereas this, compared to Under Night, which is a 4-button game, this is a 6-button game. Same exact layout as Street Fighter. That gives it a totally different move set. And when you combine that with the combo system of something like an anime fighter with your jump-in combos, your launching combos, your air dash cancels, and things like that, it's an experience that I just haven't seen in another game. Do you know of any anime fighters that have the 6-button control scheme?
Let me see here. I'm not much of an anime fighter guy. I'd take Street Fighter over one of those. I know Guilty Gear, the newest one. Someone correct me if I'm wrong. Come into the Discord at me, be like, Mikey, you fucking idiot. I believe Guilty Gear Strive, funny enough, is 5 buttons. There's 3 on top, 2 on the bottom. But it's also not heavy punch, heavy kick. It's like dash and slash and dust and heavy dust. It's nonsense like that. But I believe Guilty Gear is 5. So I think that might be the closest thing to it. Because also a lot of times when you have tag fighters like these, it'll be 4 buttons, and then those 2 extra buttons are for swapping in characters as compared to having another attack.
Right. This one does have 2 extra buttons, though. You can set macros up, pretty similar to Fighters Megamix, like we said. And you can set them up. Like, I don't think you can change the buttons that they're on, but you can set it up so that it's any 2 buttons you want, which is helpful in a 6-button game because you can't easily hit like low kick and high punch at the same time, unless you're using a fight stick or a leverless. Or I suppose unless you're doing the grip on a 6-button controller where your like right hand is on the buttons like a piano, you know?
Oh yeah.
I don't know what you call that, but that grip seems to work for a lot of people. So much so that they made that one controller that I would love to get, the pad box, but it's too expensive for somebody like me, and it's just a novelty. It would just be a novelty for me anyway. Have you seen those?
I've seen that. I've also seen one that I think splits in 2, and it's like that, and you can put them 1 on each leg. You can spread them out on your desk so they're like ergodynamic on your hands. I have seen things like that.
We should give a shout out to the tutorial in this game. It's one of the better ones that I think I've seen. And it's interesting though, because like it's not as robust as some others. Like Under Night is a great example. The combo trials in Under Night are insane. There's just so much of them. There are some games that just have shitloads of that stuff. Under Night also has a lot of beginner through advanced modes as well, which I have not totally been through. But I do like how this game approaches it because they teach you not only each character, like you can go through and learn the kits, you can go through and learn what they're good at, what they're not so good at, what situations work when. They do have combo trials as well. They only have 4 for each character, which is a little bit of a bummer. But I think it kind of teaches you implicitly what moves work and which moves launch. This game isn't quite as easy to combo as something like Under Night or Grand Blue, but it's still pretty easy. It's definitely no Street Fighter or Virtua Fighter or Tekken. But the actual tutorial itself is pretty cool because it teaches you advanced concepts.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if you're getting attacked a lot, there's a meter, and then you can like reset, you can like break out of a combo.
Yeah, that's a huge one. It also teaches you about like dropping a combo on purpose. It's like, what do they call it in Smash, where you're hit stun, where your opponent is in the hit animation, and right before the animation's over, you hit him again, so it restarts. They teach you about that here as well. That's not taught. That's definitely not taught in Smash. Actually, no. Smash doesn't even have a tutorial.
I was gonna say Smash does not have a tutorial.
2 of the tutorials teach about this thing. One is the drama meter, which sounds a little bit ridiculous. Like we've talked about how each game kind of has its own riff on the specials, the EX specials. Like they'll call them different things. Here, for example, the EX specials, the super specials. What are they called? Broadway specials or something?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, but it's the same thing. You know, it's quarter circle and 2 punches. It's the same. But the drama meter is this weird thing that is under your health bar, and it only builds if you're in stage 3 or more of a combo. And they have to go through this whole setting of like what each stage is. And I'm going to be, did you do this at all? That tutorial specifically?
No, I was going to say I did a few of the tutorials just to get the hang of the game. And then before finishing all of like the universal tutorials, I then abandoned that and started doing the tutorials for the characters that I liked.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. I was asking because I don't exactly know how the stages of combos work, because you would think, okay, that's just the 3rd hit and above, but that's not what it is, because some initial hits are automatically stage 2. And I can't figure it out. I can't remember if like launching is automatically stage 2 and anything after that is stage 3, but they have that in place because it builds the drama meter. And when the drama meter is full, it kicks into the infinite protection system or infinite prevention system, aka IPS, which will automatically start. Actually, it is kind of like Smash in that way. It makes repeat hits do more knockback and I think less damage. So you're not able to get infinite. You're not able to get like 0 to death or infinite combo food like in some other games where the knockback is not increased. They really like thought in depth about the competitive aspects of this game because I think, we had said that Mike Z and Alex Ahad met at a tournament. So like they're players, they know this stuff. At least so much as they're going to tournaments together. So they really put a lot of effort into explaining a lot of these advanced mechanics that a lot of other games don't do. Like Street Fighter 6 gets into it a tiny bit, but nothing insofar as like resets and hit stuns and the infinite system.
Yeah, so I know in Guilty Gear, I believe there's this thing called Burst, where if you're like in a combo, you can activate it and you kind of just like you interrupt the combo and you push the opponent away. Whereas here they have the IPS, and this is a really unique thing where they will keep track of what attacks you've used in the combo, and the more you use the same attack, the less damage it does. So It incentivizes you. Like, argument's sake, I'm sure we've all seen that video of you want to learn how to do a motherfucking infinite, and just like it's the Iron Man thing from Marvel vs. Capcom 2, where it's like jump, punch, lower. It's like the same 3 moves over and over again, and they get infinite in that. That would not...
or Pichu lightning loops.
Yeah, exactly.
Example.
And that wouldn't work here because you're using the same move over and over again. It does less and less damage, and the more hits done, it incentivizes you to get creative with your combos. But like, okay, I can't just spam low kick the entire time. What else do I need to do? Which also, like you said, goes into the viewer experience because it's not boring to watch. I'm not watching one person spamming the attack all the time. They are doing something new. They are dropping it. It incentivizes you to, like you said, drop the combo and start again because the attacks that start off a combo do more than the attacks later on in the combo. So they're trying to get you to approach combat differently than just spamming the same move, even if it lands or it hits well.
Right, exactly. And you couple into that the assists. If you're doing 2v2 or 3v3, you couple into that character specific things like armor, for example, with Big Band or Cerebella. And the whole thing just becomes really expressive in the way that matches can play out and the way that characters interact with other characters. That's why I say, like, it's not really like any other fighting game that I've personally played. And I'm not saying that's better or less than. It's just, it takes so much from so many different places. Like it really feels like it was made by fans. I think that's the best way to say it. Whereas like you can clearly tell, like, it's not that Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter weren't designed by fans, because they were, but they're also industry veterans that kind of pioneered this stuff and have more or less stuck with what they know, with the exception, like Street Fighter 6 brought in the drive system, which I don't love. That was 6, right? That wasn't in 5? The drive system and parries?
The parries were in 3, and they brought them back.
No. Like not those. Like the parry system where you hold the button and they can hit you, and it just builds your drive gauge. You don't actually like.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, I believe that's relatively new for Street Fighter as well. Yeah.
Yeah, like in Mortal Kombat's the same way. Like they stick to their formula. They occasionally add new things based on like the meta, but like Skullgirls just feels like it's made by folks that are passionate about all kinds of fighting games. So they just take what they like and they put it in, and they try to explain to the player through the tutorials, like, hey, this is what this is and this is why it's so cool. Here's how to use it. And they explain it in very approachable terms, while also being upfront. Like, I think every character tutorial that is in here at some point will tell you, like, you'll know you have the hang of this character when you've done X, Y, or Z 1,000 times online. Like they're not trying to make you feel like you're going to master this just by playing the tutorial or combo trials.
Yeah, and I think that's a big deal, because if you've never picked this game up before and you hop online or you take your controller, you get onto a tournament, people are going to be better than you. That's kind of just like how fighting game works. You kind of just like have to get your teeth kicked in a little bit until you learn the ropes. So I'm glad that they're setting the expectation now. They're just like, hey, you're going to need to practice this 1,000 times. You're going to have to like get good at this before just things start to click. Which is like, I know it's an unfair stigma that a lot of fighting games have, that just like, oh yeah, I don't want to play because everybody's better than me. But I think that's true for like a lot of games. It wouldn't necessarily be fun if you were new to the game and getting creamed by like professionals all the time. So you kind of have to like work your way up to that. Or do you know if this game has skill-based matchmaking? I haven't played anything online, so I don't know how the matchmaking is there. But yeah, the tutorials will definitely get you good enough to go that if you want to play with your friends, that would probably be an easiest like route for that.
Right. Yeah. The friends route is definitely, I think, what this will prepare you for. But I mean, it prepares you for the competitive stuff, I think, a little better than a lot too.
Yes,
but
definitely.
I don't know about competitive matchmaking because just like Demon was saying with Undernight, and I was saying with Undernight too, this is a Discord fighter. It's known as a Discord fighter, which just means that you go online. If you can find a match at all, you're going to be waiting for quite a while. And that doesn't just mean that old games are all this way, because there are some older games that are still quite active, but Skullgirls community has shrunk considerably since I think the last big tournament it was in was as one of the side games in 2020, right, at EVO?
Originally, EVO 2020 was going to be in person. They shut it down for COVID. They moved everything online. They couldn't run Smash Ultimate because the netcode there sucks, and they literally, like, you can't have a New York versus California match. And they're like, yeah, we're not going to break down and do 6 different Smash Ultimate tournaments. So I believe they took out Smash Ultimate and put in Skullgirls as, like, an online EVO game because, like you said, the netcode was so good.
Yeah, and you can comfortably compete, like, online with Skullgirls. It is not an issue. But no, with Discord fighters, if you do play online, you're going to run into those folks who have been playing this for a very long time. So you join a Discord and you seek matches there. I think generally the Discord fighters are a more tight-knit community, and they're not going to be like super toxic. Like Tekken is very much known for having an incredibly toxic online community. So much so that there was this whole movement on Reddit of people leaving and infiltrating other fighting game subreddits. Like, hey, I'm coming from Tekken. Like, is this a good game to like transition? Which is very funny to me. But this is, I would imagine this isn't that, but I haven't actually joined any fighting game Discord, so I couldn't tell you. Well, we got to talk music. I went into this not knowing that Michiru Yamane was involved, and I don't actually know anything about her. Like, everything that I've learned about her was reading stuff that she said or folks have said about her history. And, she was very focused on composition. She did a lot of classical music work. I think Bach and Counterpoint were a big focus for her in school. And I want to say in university, she did like a whole project on something Baroque related. She was also an organist, so she did a lot of this, but there were places that were saying that she was interested in being a jazz performer for a little bit when she was like 20-something, maybe late teens, early 20s. And again, like, I've not heard the Castlevania soundtrack. Whatever they cooked up with her, along with Vincent Diamante and Brenton Kosak and Blaine McGurty, it blew me. Like, my jaw was on the floor consistently throughout a lot of this. It is staggeringly good.
I don't want to say that I'm not a jazz guy. I haven't been exposed to a lot of jazz. So it's not that I dislike it. I don't know a lot of jazz. So I'm still like learning what type of jazz I like and I don't like. And there were so many times I've been listening to this, I'll go, oh, this fucks, I dig this. Like today at work, I listened to the entire soundtrack, like a little bit in preparation, like for this, but also because the music was so good, I was like, yeah, this is like good music to put on at work. This is like background. I could just put my earbuds in and still do stuff. Like, yeah, this soundtrack rips. It's great.
And the thing is too, is like, well, I'm comfortable saying this. Like I did my 3 degrees in saxophone, and as I said, like classical focus, yes, but I did a lot of playing in big bands and jazz. So like I know what good big band writing is, and this has it. And it's insane to me, since Yamane was the lead composer along with Diamante. And I don't know, my understanding is that neither of them are like jazz forward composers or musicians. I very well could be wrong about that. I know, at the very least, I know Yamane isn't jazz forward. I mean, based on her education and based on she constantly being described as like classical Gothic Victorian style music, but they somehow created a soundtrack that it's not Birdland level. It's not like Joshua Redman level or anything like that, Patrick Bartley or Chris Potter or whoever, but it is so astoundingly good. Like, when you think of jazz in other video games, I don't know about you, but the first place my mind goes is New Vegas, right? Fallout New Vegas. Have you played New Vegas?
No, I haven't played any of the Fallouts.
Okay. A lot of the Fallouts, like their music and their aesthetic isn't jazz specifically, but it's like the I Don't Want to Set the World on Fire kind of deal. Like, that was Fallout 3's big song. But like Fallout New Vegas, they did like the whole, and I find this to be so cliche and corny, they did the whole like fedora jazz, like, you know, like they literally had Chandler Bing voice a character in there named Benny who would wear like a zoot suit and say like, "Ah, you dig," and like stuff like that. It's all like Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin, like the Rat Pack, and there's nothing wrong with them, but it's such a sort of derivative interpretation of what jazz is. And I don't want to say normie. I mean, it is, but I don't want to say it. It's just a very reductive, myopic view of jazz. If you just think like Frank Sinatra, you know, maybe if you're feeling adventurous, Charlie Parker.
It's like the idea of jazz that my mom has.
Right, exactly.
Like someone who doesn't know jazz, but she has like that Walmart jazz in her mind, because she's like, yeah, this is what it is. And if I asked her to do jazz music, it would probably be something like New Vegas that you're talking about.
Yeah, and again, like, there's nothing wrong with that, right? And that aesthetic was popular when New Vegas came out. But now, like that and like the 20s flappers, like that is so trite and corny that nobody wants to hear it anymore. Maybe except for millennials that don't want to move on. But this soundtrack just blows that shit out of the water. It's not even a close matchup. The writing is sharp. Like, whoever is writing the saxophone solos throughout all of this, they know how to write SATB. Well, I don't think there's soprano in this. Instead of, it's actually pretty funny. Instead of using a soprano when you would expect to hear like a tenor soprano duet or an alto soprano duet, instead of soprano, they use, what is that keyboard? Melodica. A melodica.
Oh, okay.
Have you seen that?
Yeah.
Yeah, like the little tiny keyboard with the like
hose, like the tube you blow into. Yeah.
Yeah, the tube hose that you blow into. They'll use that instead, and it's a very fascinating sound. But you know, they know how to write saxophone solos. They know that the baritone plays the exact same thing that the lead alto plays, but obviously an octave lower. They know how to fill that out. They know what registers of the horn are going to provide like punchy power. They know, and this is interesting to me, and I'm wondering if it's not just the performers doing interpretations, but they know like how high comfortable altissimo on saxophone is. Altissimo just being like higher notes than our standard. Like, they know where that kind of taps out, and they know how to transition into those comfortably, that actually, you know, that a musician would play and it wouldn't sound unnatural. The writing, and not to mention like the other performance directions, like volume modifications, like, you know, your dynamics, articulations are a huge one. The articulations here are so crisp. And of course too, like, it's not just big band. They do a bit of soft shoe swing. They do some Latin stuff. They do some more like jazz rock sort of deal. It's so varied. Like, I was so fooled that I was going to look up the composers and see like somebody that just went to jazz school.
Yeah.
I mean, they clearly, like, they all went to school. Like, they know what they're doing. Don't get me wrong. It's just astounding that they were able to create a soundtrack that is good jazz. Just straight up. It's good writing.
Yeah, like I said, I'm not much of a jazz guy, and I dug this. So I guess you can take that one of two ways. It's good enough that normies like me are into it, or if you're a real jazz snob, people are like, normies are into it. And I guess you can look at it that way, but I think that's like an objectively good thing. If I'm like not into a certain style of music, for me to like appreciate that, be like, oh wow, this is really good. Even me who doesn't normally like this can get behind it. I think that's an impressive feat.
You'll see this, the other folks won't, but at the very bottom I keep like music
Yes.
going along for edits. I have more here than I have had for any any other thing. There's just so many. I mean, I think the one with the best writing is a tune called Unfinished Business, which probably is going to appear multiple times. That's the one that's got the most interesting ensemble writing, I think. The rhythm section is doing really cool things. You can actually hear the rhythm guitar, which is not always, it's not always desired in jazz, but in this particular style of it, it's not always heard. You can hear it. The multiple saxophone writing is really good. The soloist, which I found out that the soloist does both alto and tenor, just in different takes. Genuinely good improvisation. I'm trying to think of another game that does this, but you might expect the improvisation to be done just by one of the musical staff. They're not they might write out the improvisation. They don't actually do jazz improv. This soloist, who by the way, the name for the soloist is Shiohito Takai, alto and tenor on this. Really knows what they're doing. They're playing these they're playing these diminished fourth licks that a lot of folks play. I played this exact lick constantly. It's fourths stacked in thirds on top of a diminished chord. You hear a lot of that. A lot of these really chromatic licks that kind of play inside and outside of the box at the same time that you can just place over different chords. Again, obviously command of the instrument top to bottom. It's actually good improvisation, what a jazz player would play. And the pianist too, I don't want to discount them. The pianist or keyboardist is doing some cool stuff as well. Weirdly enough, I could only find 4 credits of performers on this album. One, I might have to go back and do this. I think I might have wrote this wrong, but there's vocals on the song Destiny in Your Hands. That's Paul Quell. As I said, Shiohito Takai, alto and tenor saxophone, only credited on Unfinished Business, which is weird because there's horns throughout this whole album. Junichi Kamiyunten, baritone saxophone, again on Unfinished Business, and Gela Zika on vocals for In a Moment's Time, excuse me. And I think she also did the Japanese version of this, Hitomi no Kyoku.
Oh, okay.
This is weird though, because I know for a fact on the DLC music, Black Dahlia's theme is called Down the Rabbit Hole. Very popular YouTuber, I think he needs to be more popular, Insane in the Rain, aka Carlos Aina, Iene, does a YouTube channel called Insane in the Rain. He was such a big fan of this game that he did a cover, I'm pretty sure, of Big Band's theme, which is Unfinished Business, and he'll multi-track everything, all 4 saxophones, drums, trumpet, and he did that. He was such a big fan, they asked him to record on Down the Rabbit Hole. Yeah, so that's him on the recording, and he has a video on his YouTube of him playing this too. And he multi-tracked everything. He did trumpet as well, and I mean his trumpet skills aren't up to snuff with his saxophone playing because that's what he does, but it's impressive all the same. But he's not credited from what I saw on the album. Only those previous 4 mentioned are, which does make me wonder if other folks weren't credited. But it also gets me into this really cynical spiral of wondering if a lot of this isn't just computer music, like you were talking about earlier.
Yeah, maybe.
I would be extremely disappointed if that's the case.
I was going to say, I can't imagine it is. I'm looking on music websites right now to see if I can find more credits, and I can't. But also, I haven't done a lot of deep digging. But I'm sure it's out there somewhere. I'm sure someone had to go through and do all of this. I just wouldn't be surprised if, because it was such a small team that was developing at the beginning, I wouldn't be surprised if they just went Paul Quo and band type of thing, and we don't know who was in the recording session for that day.
Maybe. And I mean, structuring it like that would make sense because those two saxophonists, Shiohito Takai and Junichi Kamiyunten, I missed the N. They're both soloists on that track. And but that's weird too, because there are other tracks that have solos as well, and they weren't credited. I don't know. There's just a lot of missing pieces to this puzzle. But the reason that I say I hope it's not computer music, I mean, that's a whole different conversation that I was wondering if we were going to get into when you brought it up earlier, because I have a lot of complicated feelings on it. But this kind of music in particular, like this jazz big band, this is not the kind of stuff that you want to do computers for. You want to get live session musicians, because it will never sound nearly as good as it will with live performers versus something more like, I don't know, like, well, let's use something that is intended for electronic instruments, like Celeste, for example. You know, amazing soundtrack, love it, but it's so different, and it couldn't exist as an I was going to say analog. It couldn't exist as acoustic instruments, and this couldn't exist as digital instruments, but maybe it is, and I've been fooled. And if that's the case, I mean, I'm going to go down the same kind of spiral as when I get fooled by AI, and that's the whole thing. I don't know. All this to say, I hope I can find more information on the performer credits.
I am sure you can. I'm sure it's out there. I'm sure you could just ask ChatGPT and you'll get an answer.
I'm going to ask ChatGPT which car can run me over the most efficient on the highway, too, because that's what I'm going to do after that. But yeah, man, it's cool stuff too. And like, nothing against Claire Obscure and Lorient Testard. Nothing against self-taught composers. I'm not trying to gatekeep. However, it is very clear when you get trained musicians in to compose, there is a polish and a nuance to the writing that is just not there in a lot of other stuff. This soundtrack's a great example. Oh, Hollow Knight too. I can't remember the composer's name for Hollow Knight. That's another great one. Joe Hisaishi from Ni no Kuni did the soundtrack to that and is a genuine composer in his own right. Like these soundtracks just have something to them that other soundtracks with musicians that maybe didn't do that kind of study don't have. And I'm not saying that it's impossible, because like Final Fantasy Tactics is a great example. I came away from that thinking that they were like trained classical musicians orchestrating, and turns out no, they had never had any orchestral experience at all. So like, it's not impossible, it would take significantly more time and practice and listening and energy than if you like had a good teacher, right? So that's like, I don't know, whenever I hear these soundtracks that have trained musicians, like trained in university musicians, there's just always something there, and you can just tell. You can tell that the marble was shaped so the composition comes out of it, so the sculpture comes out of the marble. There's just something about it. I don't know if any of that makes any sense, because I don't think I explained it very well, but I don't know. It's just something I don't get out of like Claire Obscure's soundtrack, which is fantastic in its own right, don't get me wrong, but you can, I don't know, when you hear the orchestral stuff on there, you're like, yeah, you know, something's not quite right. I don't know. Maybe that is a little bit elitist.
I don't know if I'd say elitist. I don't hear it, but also I don't have a trained ear. I think elitist just comes across as snobby, and I wouldn't say you're necessarily being snobby. I'll say educated. Like, you are smart enough and you know enough to pick up on these differences. The same way, I'm sure after you and I play this game for a little bit, if we watch a game of Skullgirls with someone who's never played it before, and we're like, oh, did you see that tiny interaction that they did? And they might not pick up on it, but because we know what we're talking about, we pick up on the nuance of it, which someone who is less educated on the new person watching Skullgirls, or me talking about the Claire Obscura music, would be, you know?
Yeah, that's a really good point. It's not going to come across to like the average listener, the average viewer, average fighting game player, you know, and that's me too. I don't pick up on a lot of the nuances in terms of like frame data and things that are safe on Shield whenever I'm playing things where that really matters, like your Street Fighters or Virtua Fighters. That is that's something that I just try to feel out, which again would take me is taking me significantly longer to just do it, on my own versus like getting a coaching from someone, or even, just whatever the close go to Fighting Game University. Do they have those yet? Or are there any YouTube grifters that are doing that?
I'm sure you can get something close to that on YouTube, but I don't know if there's anybody like doing it like for real just yet. But I think there's something similar to like that.
Yeah, that's a good analogy, though. That's a good analogy. All that to say, the soundtrack is extremely good. There is a whole playlist on YouTube of all like 60-some tracks, including 1 or 2 from the mobile version and some unreleased stuff as well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, the cover of each one makes me think that it was released as a CD, and I'm pretty sure it was, because that's where I pulled these credits from, or at least that's what I found on the internet. I don't own the CD. And if folks haven't, that's what I would recommend. Like, if nothing else, if you don't care about fighting games, if none of this is interesting, listen to the music, 1. And then 2, if you want to after that, at least check out the art. Like, those are the 2. If you don't want to play it, you don't care about fighting games, at least check those out.
Yeah, definitely. I agree 100%.
Well, goodness gracious, that was a lot of talk about Skullgirls. That wraps up Fighting February. Fight Brewery. This was a good time. I am much better at talking about fighting games now, I think, and I think I've learned quite a bit. But I have been ending each one by asking a question. I asked Demon, which is his Christian name, by the way. You wouldn't expect it, but it is. I believe that comes from the Gospel of Peter, if I'm not mistaken. But I asked Demon, I asked Chris, so now I ask you, why? Like, if you had to give a couple reasons. 1 sentence, 1 paragraph, whatever you think. Like, why give fighting games a chance? Whether it's just by yourself or with friends, competitive. Like, what makes this genre worth playing to you?
Okay, I'm gonna go, because there are a couple stipulations there. I'm gonna go why it's worth playing with friends, because that is my favorite way to play fighting games. I think that is the best way to experience it. I think, from my experience, if I play solo for too long, like if I'm just playing by myself, I'm going to get bored. If I go to a tournament for too long, I get burnt out getting, like I said earlier, my teeth getting kicked in. I think playing with friends is the best way to experience it, especially if you all decide to get in on a new game. So I'm going to give an example of me and my friends playing a different fighting game. I'm sure if you know me, you've heard any of my podcasts, you know I used to go to Smash tournaments. I used to run Melee tournaments. And growing up, my friends and I, we would play Melee. And I remember I had this one friend, we would go to his house to play. He and I were really close in skill, right? He just, like, out of all of the groups of, all like the 5 guys we'd hang out with, he and I, we were the closest. And I remember going to YouTube one day, and I looked up Smash Melee Marth guide. I want to get better at this one character. And then I did something that I was training from that video next time I hung out with my friend, and he goes, "Oh, did you also watch this YouTube video?" I was like, "Yeah, how'd you know that YouTube video?" It was like, I wanted to look it up because I wanted to beat you. And I liked that little sense of just like back and forth. Like, we both realized we were almost as good as each other in this, and we both want to get that little extra edge. And it just became like a fun, we were pushing each other to be better type of thing. We're just like, if one of us just was really good and beating everyone else, that wouldn't be fun for anybody. But like, as a group, we all decided this is something we like doing. This is something we're passionate about. Let's all get good together. And like, we were all practicing and training and helping each other and sending resources. And I think it was fun that the 5-6 of us, we were able to like all collectively put effort into this and try and like get from where we were. And we just kept getting better and better and better, but as a group. And it was like a fun experience, like as friends growing together doing that.
And I think that's a great, fantastic part of it as well. And it's not, it's not dissimilar to like throwing a football with friends or like playing a game of pickup ball or, ultimate frisbee or whatever. It's not about becoming competitive. You're not trying to get into the NFL. Probably most of us aren't. We're tossing it at a tailgate, with some kind of a light beer in one hand and tossing the ball with the other. It's more of a community thing.
Yeah.
And yeah, I can see in a competitive environment how that might get not frustrating, but a little bit tiring after a while, because it's less. I've only been to one ever, And, there are some folks you sit down with and it's just a great time. You immediately hit it off. You're between sets, you're like, man, that was really good. And they're like, no, what you did was really good. And then there are others who just won't talk to you. Like they just sit down. I tried to fist bump one kid. I was like, hey man, like good luck. He would not even look at me.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, dude. And I mean, that's the luck of the draw, right? Because it's a competitive thing with people you don't know, but with your friends, everybody's cool. Everybody's chill. Most of the time fights don't break out. Yeah, I think that's great. I think the social aspect is one. I don't think Demon or Chris touched on it, but I think that is something folks definitely should not overlook.
And like when I'm not very good at Smash Bros. I'll go ahead and say that. I was consistently coming in last place in all of the tournaments I was running, but I liked being part of the community, which is why I continued to run the events. I was like the guy with the clipboard telling people what to do instead of the guy behind the controller. And the comic shop where we held the tournaments, about 3 blocks down, there was a Wendy's. And every Sunday at like 4 o'clock when the tournament was over, we had the Wendy's squad. And our group of friends, all of us at this tournament, we would just go to Wendy's and hang out for another hour. Like no video games, no fighting games. We were just hanging out at Wendy's as friends. And I think that was like, I never would have met these people and had a weekly tradition of going to Wendy's and getting 4-for-4s if I didn't go to this comic shop basement and like play games with these people. And like that was more exciting for me than playing Smash Bros, like hanging out with these people, making connections, like becoming friends, seeing them every week, hanging out with them every week. So if you're thinking of, oh, do I go to a tournament game? Mikey said if I go, I'm going to get my teeth kicked in. You will. That's fine. That's not what you're going there for. It's the fighting game community. You're going to be part of a community. Go make friends. Hang out. You don't even have to enter the tournament if you want. Just hang out, talk to people. I can guarantee you 9 out of 10 people there, you're like, hey, I've never played. You mind playing with me? They'd be like, hell yeah, welcome. And they'll teach you how to play and they'll be real friendly. Of course, you're going to run into that one dick, but that happens literally any community you go to, any sports game. I'm sure even at the tailgate example, if you go, oh, you want to toss the old pigskin? They'd be like, no, man, I'm deep in my DraftKings mode. Fuck off. I don't need to talk to you right now.
Or there's that one guy that's like, yeah, man, your Spiral's okay, but like when I was in high school, like I lettered 4 times.
Yeah.
And just like, just reliving like that kind of thing.
Yeah, you're gonna have to deal with that even at work, even in your family. No matter what group of people you're with, you're going to maybe have one person you don't super vibe with, but that's fine. 9 out of 10 people at fighting game tournaments are just super chill and super cool and will be more than happy to hang out with you and help you if it's your first time going. Do not be intimidated. It is a cool vibe 9 out of 10 times.
I think that's well said, man. It's all about a community with other people, human beings, around a shared interest. Not computer. Computer is not friend. We kill computer. Mikey, I just took a look. 0-2 Heroes is still up. It's still live. You can listen to it. Anybody can listen to it. Is that something you want to talk about?
You can.
I can cut it if not.
No, by all means. I was going to say, you can listen to it. It is still up. I was thinking today, okay, so people who don't listen to my show, quick recap. If you go to a fighting game tournament, it's double elimination, which means you have 2 chances. You need to lose twice before you're out of the tournament. If you come in last place, you go 0-2. And like I said, that's normally where I end up. I flipped that on its head, and me and my guest, we would take a fighting game that we have 0 experience in, and we have 2 weeks to practice as little or as much as we want, and then we talk about it, but most importantly, we actually fight each other. I will play another person. We post the video on YouTube so you can watch the match going on, and then we come back and we discuss it more. Rick was on the show. We discussed Nickelodeon All-Stars Brawl. That's a lot of fun. This is going to be coming out in February. So I don't know how much longer it will be listed for. I'm going to go ahead and give all of your viewers a little bit of a sneak peek. I always like to do something dramatic for April Fool's Day. 2 April Fool's Days ago, I announced the ending of the podcast, and nobody knew I was serious because they thought it was an April Fool's joke. And then there was no podcast for a year, and then last April Fool's, I secretly released 1 episode. I wanted to do more episodes, but work got in the way and I couldn't. I was just going to surprise drop a whole bunch of episodes. I'm debating, who knows? I think it would be fun if for April Fool's this year, I delisted the podcast. So you guys have like 4 weeks. You have the last week of February and all of March to listen to 0 and 2 Heroes before it's off the airs forever.
Mikey, that sounds less like an April Fool's joke and more of a thinly veiled excuse to take it down, which you don't need. You can just do it.
Okay. I could just do it, and I was debating, do I take it down today before we record? I'm like, no, I'm going to take it down on April Fool's Day because that will be funny.
I think it'll be funny to you.
Oh, yeah, I was about to say, I don't know if you can hear, but I'm cracking myself up right now. But if you want...
And what you can't see is he's also crying. That's important to say, too.
Maybe I won't take it down. Who knows? But if you want, I have a fighting game podcast. I've had Rick on it. I've had a bunch of guests who have been on this show, on that show. So go check that out if you want. Or don't. It's not an active podcast anymore.
You can find Mikey Tabletop and the podcast 0 and 2 Heroes in the episode description. Mikey is not on social medias all that much himself, but he is a member of the PPR Discord. So if you wanted to get into contact with him, you could join the server, which is free, and get in touch with him there. You can find links to that, to 0 and 2 Heroes, in the description. You can also find links to all of our other stuff as well. The Patreon page, if you're feeling so generous. Links to our social medias. As I said, link to the Discord server. And any supplemental information that I find to upload related to the episode, related to our talks today. So, I think that's about all for today. Thank you so much, Mikey, for joining me once again. Thank you so much, listeners, for sticking around and listening to us talk a little bit about Skullgirls and fighting games. It's been fun to take a little detour from the usual stuff that we talk about, and moving forward, maybe we'll revisit these again in the future. But that bridge will be crossed when we arrive at it. Until then, thanks again. My name is Rick. I'm your host. We are signing off for now. Take it easy, folks.